I'd honestly rather Mandy and Audrey had a real heart-to-heart instead of the constant tension and passive-aggressive back and forth the show keeps leaning on. Their relationship feels like it's stuck in a loop where Audrey talks at Mandy instead of to her, and Mandy shuts down instead of pushing back. A genuine conversation between them wouldn't just be more satisfying emotionally, it would also feel more realistic than the constant maneuvering and judgment that defines their dynamic right now. The biggest issue between Mandy and Audrey isn't that they disagree, it's that they've never really acknowledged what those disagreements are about. Audrey's criticism isn't just about Georgie or money or stability, it's about fear. She's afraid Mandy will struggle the way she might have, or worse, end up stuck in a life she can't escape. Mandy, on the other hand, isn't rebelling for the sake of it. She's trying to build an adult life where she gets to make her own mistakes. A heart-to-heart could finally put those motivations on the table instead of leaving them buried under snide remarks. Right now, Audrey's authority over Mandy feels unchallenged, even though Mandy is married, working, and clearly capable of making decisions for herself. That imbalance is what makes Audrey's behavior so suffocating. If Mandy were given the space to calmly say, "I know you're scared, but this is my life," it would force Audrey to confront the fact that her daughter is no longer someone she can manage. That kind of moment wouldn't magically fix their relationship, but it would shift the power dynamic in a way the show has been avoiding. It would also humanize Audrey in a way we haven't fully seen yet. The show hints that she's driven by anxiety and disappointment, but it rarely lets her admit that out loud. A real conversation could expose the emotional reasons behind her control issues instead of framing her solely as the antagonist. That doesn't excuse her behavior, but it does make it more understandable. And more importantly, it gives Mandy a chance to see her mother as flawed rather than just obstructive. For Mandy, a heart-to-heart would be a huge step forward in her character arc. She often comes across as defensive or distant when dealing with Audrey, which makes sense, but it also keeps her trapped in a reactive role. Speaking honestly about how Audrey's pressure affects her marriage, her confidence, and her sense of self would show growth. It would be Mandy choosing communication over avoidance, which is especially important given how fragile her marriage already feels. There's also the bigger picture to consider. Audrey's interference doesn't just affect Mandy, it directly impacts Georgie and the stability of their relationship. A heart-to-heart could draw a clear boundary, not in a dramatic or explosive way, but in a firm, adult one. Mandy acknowledging her love for Georgie, while also admitting the struggles they face, could force Audrey to confront the reality that control isn't the same as protection. What makes this so frustrating is that the show clearly understands these emotional layers, but keeps circling them instead of addressing them head-on. Comedy thrives on conflict, sure, but emotional honesty doesn't kill humor, it deepens it. A sincere conversation between Mandy and Audrey could create richer tension going forward, not less, because it would be rooted in truth rather than constant misunderstanding. At this point, a heart-to-heart feels necessary, not optional. Without it, their relationship risks becoming repetitive and one-note. With it, Georgie and Mandy's first marriage could explore something far more interesting. What happens when a controlling parent finally has to listen, and when an adult child finally demands to be heard?